Wes, what's up, brother? Glad to be joining you, man.
Awesome. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's been, I don't know, it's been a month, maybe a couple of months, but I've been following you for a while now. Man, I've been so motivated and inspired by what you're doing and what you're all about, and I'm stoked to have you on the podcast.
I appreciate it. We're about some of the same stuff. So I mean, it's about what a man should be. So I mean, I follow a lot of the same beliefs as you. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I know we were going to do it. We were going to try to do it live, face to face, because it's always better, right? It's always better when you can do it face to face, but we had the fallout from the coronavirus. I'm like, screw that. Let's just make this happen. And I imagine at some point we'll be able to connect face to face. You're in San Diego, right?
Yeah, that's behind me right now. Downtown San Diego, born and raised. I mean, grew up in Oceanside, North County, San Diego, and then just been around SoCal my whole life. Always lived in San Diego since day one. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. I grew up. I lived in Anaheim. Spent a lot of time down in Huntington until I was about 14 years old, and then I moved to a small southern Utah town, which was a huge culture shock and change for me, man.
Yeah, I saw that you're up in Maine.
Maine now, other side of the
Oh,
country.
yeah, that's crazy. But I knew you had to have some sort of SoCal flavor or something. I knew you had some vibe that told me that you were probably from down this area or something. So that's cool. Orange County, that's our next door neighbor right there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, look, man, I wanted to have you on the podcast because I'm always a fan of like a redemption story, if you will. I don't know if that's how you would necessarily consider it, or how you would define what you've been able to accomplish over the past several years and your background and where you've come from. But I love seeing a guy who was going down a path that he realized he didn't want to be on, and then being able to redefine himself and create something more of himself. Is that how you would define it, or how do you look at your path as like a whole, the path that you've traveled?
I mean, basically, like everybody's going through this shit. Everybody's getting in their own way in some form or fashion. I don't care if it's the banker who's excelling financially. He's probably getting in his way health wise. I mean, but we're all getting in our own way. Most people nowadays, it's vices, it's addictions, it's pleasure seeking. It's getting in our own way from what we truly desire, which is it's basically cognitive dissonance. I mean, you have one system of beliefs, but then you also have conflicting beliefs that you operate under. So the point is once I fully just adopted my own core belief system and I just said, fuck it, I'm sticking to this no matter what. These are non-negotiable for me. I mean, you got to look at where I came from. I was in the penitentiary for 10 years and I've been convicted of 4 strikes. I mean, they can only give me 2 in that case, but I've been convicted of 4. So I don't have another chance. If I
Mm.
came out and was a dipshit again, if I came out and got my own way again, going straight to the vices, the pleasure seeking, the drugs, the alcohol, the violence, I get a life sentence. I cannot mess up again. So everything just became very serious to me, very clear, which I believe everything should be serious. Everything in life is serious, nothing so tragic. People are turning this coronavirus into a tragedy in their own minds. Yeah, it's serious. It's not a fucking tragedy though. So the point is I just really got in that accountability mirror. I sat in that mirror and I looked at myself and I said, this shit's got to change. I'm sick of it. I just got sick of it.
Yeah, I think you at some point, if you do want to change, you got to be so tired of the bullshit that you actually have to progress. Because if it's not as painful, like if changing is more painful than what you're currently experiencing, you just won't change. Like you have to be in that pain and that discomfort. And I just think people spend an inordinate amount of time running away from the pain and discomfort, and obviously never improve, never excel, never make themselves into something more and something different.
I mean, comfort's the enemy of progress. So the point being, I literally just lived in such a painful fashion for so long, it became my pleasure. In the penitentiary, you think it's bad enough that you're in the penitentiary, but it can get worse. So I'm in prison, I'm missing the streets, this, that, the other, missing my family, my girl, my life, everything. I'm missing everything. I just got 10 years in prison, hardcore state prison, California CDC. And if that's not bad enough, I mean, a year, 2 years in, you start to get in some trouble in there. Then you see what it's really like to be in isolation. Now, you're just in a cell by yourself. I mean, stretches of up to 14 months at a time when you get in trouble in the penitentiary where you're not stepping out of a bathroom for over a year. So at
Mm.
this point, what do you become? I mean, there's a way to still get drugs in your cell when you're there by yourself. And people figure it out. They fish, they make fishing lines and they go cell to cell with getting their dope and their rigs and everything. And so they could shoot up and do their shit. And this is where the change takes place. At times, during times of pain, do you run to personal growth or do you run to vices to hide from that pain? And that's what's going on out here. Most people, when shit gets painful, they just run to some pills. They run to some food. They run to any sort of distraction. And once those distractions were taken away from me, I was really able to heal myself from within.
Yeah, is that what needed to happen? Because I look at, like, even now with my business and my life and the way that I'm running my family and leading us and leading the business, in the midst of this coronavirus thing, I feel more focused than I've ever felt. And obviously I'm producing the results because of it. And I'm realizing that we just spend way too much time distracted and in chaos and stimulus that really shouldn't be there. Is that what it was for you? Is like, finally just strip everything away from me so I can focus on what really matters, which in this case was you.
Yeah, as soon as like all our external distractions lessen and they disappear, then the spiritual world starts to awaken. And I mean, I don't care what your religious denomination is. The spiritual sense is just that feeling within your conscience, your sense of being, who you are. And just when you start to really attach to that, you start to get that emotional motivation that you are meant for more, that you have a purpose on this planet. And the point is I just really drove myself to this sense of purpose that I need to be a man. I need to be a fucking man and quit being a bitch, quit crying over choices that I'm making. And in my heart, it rang true that I wanted to be a father. I wanted to be a husband. I wanted to make my mom and my family proud. And that's just what I set out to do. I didn't really care about this actual outcome. So this was the byproduct of creating that man that my family would be proud of, that I would be proud of. So I like to say what I believe life's purpose for us all is to create the man you admire in every way so that you can give him away. So that's the point. Whatever you admire, whatever you unbiasedly admire, you must become. You must acquire what you admire. And that's the only way you're going to be proud of self. Because at a certain point, you start to make those negotiations in your head that if you want this or if you want that, fuck all that. If you look at something and you want that for yourself, you have to no longer choose to be a spectator and go do whatever it takes to attain that. And the point are we able to gather this all up with superficial motivation? No, not so much. It's best to use emotional motivation. Like, my son needs to look at me as a man. My wife needs to be attracted to me. Like, I don't want to live a lie. I mean, we need to just really get truthful with ourselves and say, is this what I want for the people in my life? And know that we need to personify the teachings for them to wish to learn. So the drunk dad who's fat and out of shape and he's telling his son to be his best, he's passing off energy that isn't congruent with what he's saying. So his son, it goes in one ear out the other. His son's like, Dad, you drink. You're not what a man should be. And I mean, regardless of if he knows he feels that, if he knows he wants to say that, he feels that. So people don't realize their energy has to be congruent with the message they're passing on.
Yeah, it's a good point. I noticed that a lot of men, they say they know what they want. I think to a degree they have this version of themselves who they want to become in their head. And yet, even though they have that, they still can't do the thing. They still can't overcome the temptation or the vice like you talk about. They still can't put forth the work. And there seems to be a disconnect between what most men know they should be doing and what they're actually doing. I mean, do you find that to be pretty common?
Yeah, that's, referred to as cognitive dissonance, like two conflicting belief systems. But I mean, that's just, we've created our subconscious. Our subconscious controls us. So by nature, habitually, we construct our subconscious to act for us. And over time of so many years of placating pleasure, society set us up, the system set us up how we live. And the point is we've been seeking instant gratification so long and being taught that this is when you win, is when you get your pleasure that you're after, that we've just known to seek that. So any discomfort causes us to bitch up and just turn our backs. And the point is in the penitentiary, you only can be validated from your conduct, your character, your discipline, your program, your wake up time, your workout, who you are, the results you get physically, and the way you just, your character in general, your word, your integrity. So as soon as all those external forms of validation are removed, then you're able to validate yourself from within, and your conduct, your character, your true assets that you've created as a man on this planet. So everyone out here is kind of just, they're looking for those external validators to say who they are instead of their true actions. And if they went after their true actions as their form of validation, well, then they would get all those external forms of validation as a byproduct anyways. So the point is they're just going backwards. They're not getting it. They're working backwards.
Yeah, you got to, and I've heard you talk about this before. I listened to your couple of interviews with Brian, and I've obviously am following you on Instagram and YouTube and things like that. And I've heard you talk about it from the perspective of you've got to be that individual first, right? You've got to do that first, and those results will take care of themselves. I think what a lot of people believe is that if I have the house, if I have the car, if I have the woman, if I have the money, if I have the whatever, then I'll be happy. Then I'll have gratitude. Then I'll be gracious. Then my life will be better. It's like, no, you got to be that first, and then the natural inevitable outcome is the results that just are produced because of who you are and how you show up.
It always comes as a byproduct. It's the have, do, be, and the be, do, have. So the people who say that once they have the money, then they'll go do the workout program, and then they'll be happy and be swole. But the fact is you can't operate that way. You have to be content, be happy, be grateful, and then go do what you have to do, and then you'll have the outcome, which is you'll be happy. You'll have that inner peace. I don't even believe in happiness. I believe in contentment. I believe in inner peace. I don't believe in. I'm not even after happiness. Goodness to me is uneventful. It does not flash. It glows. I don't want a big spike. A big spike has an equal low, even if it's something grand that wasn't actually riddled with it wasn't a vice or anything negative. It still has an equal low. So I just like that steady incline. I mean, I'm not after massive spikes. I'm not after home runs. I like the base hit life. It's just goodness is uneventful. It does not flash. It glows. And this is just something I've been after the whole time, because I was always chasing those highs and then suffering from that low, which most addicts do. I was an addict. And these addicts don't realize those emotional highs and lows are their power if they learn to harness them in an even fashion.
Yeah, I like that you're talking about happiness. I actually saw something that you had posted, I think it was yesterday or the day before, about happy wife, happy life. And you said how true that statement was. And that was the first thing I saw. And I'm like, no, I actually don't agree with that because of the word happiness, right? And it's and I'm glad you clarified, and you did in the post as well. But I think there's too many people that are searching for happiness, which I tend to equate with like bliss, right? Like everything's wonderful, nothing ever is wrong. There's no contention, there's no pain. But man, you got to have that stuff. That it's being able to overcome it that produces the result that you're after.
That's exactly it. Everything only exists by contrast. If you want everything to be positive and you want to wish away all negativity, well, then positivity doesn't exist. If you wish away all sadness and all fucking pain, then the pleasure doesn't exist. So the point is I told my wife, I don't believe in happiness. I like contentment is what I'm after. When there's just no actual issue and I'm working towards becoming who I'm happily dissatisfied at all times. So I look at that as contentment.
Yeah, it makes sense. One of the things that you said is you said so that men can give themselves away. This is what you said a minute ago. I'm really curious about that, like, because you're talking about becoming this ideal version of who you are so that you can give yourself away. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Just at a certain point, you're always going to be accustomed to you. Like you're going to wake up you're not that thrilled about where you're at. So the point is when you teach other people and when you take a broken soul, a broken individual under your wing and you give them their power back, that's truly what's going to be the measure of a man. When someone leaves your presence, do they leave better or worse? That can tell you everything about yourself. And so I used to take these addicts in prison. I used to take these broken individuals in prison, these guys with lack of confidence, and I would instill what I had in them. The only way we're ever going to keep what we have for ourselves is to give it away. And the fact is that's why the richest people start giving their wealth away. That's why in drug groups and everything, they tell you to get someone else sober. I mean, this is the realest thing. We're meant to pass on. We're an interdependent society. We're not meant to be recluses. And any bitch of a man that is like in his later stages of life, that's like, I'm just doing this for me. Like he really hasn't figured it out. I'm always like, okay, so you're 37 and you're still just doing it for you. You haven't moved on to anybody else yet. How the fuck, And the point is exponentially, the more people we can bring worth to their lives nowadays, especially with the internet, can turn into a thriving business like I've built with Watson Fit. I've changed so many people's lives. It's crazy. Like I watched them absorb my 13 years of wisdom and experience in less than 6 months. They just don't doubt it, and they just absorb it so quick. And that's the point of a coach. That's the point of a mentor. That's the point of podcasts and YouTube interviews like this. That is the point, so we can excel each other very quickly. So a lot of people who don't know they're agreeing with my quote to give it away, they're actually doing that, which is a great thing. This is how we service everybody.
Yeah, I think to not give yourself away is a level of immaturity, especially in men. Like I know you have a son, right?
Yeah.
How old is your son?
He's like 22 months or something. He's coming.
Okay.
November 30th is his 2-year birthday.
Awesome,
you got
man.
me on the dates. I'm so bad.
No, I don't expect that.
Calendars pass like a motherfucker, but November 30th is his second birthday. I was in the pen, I would only count the calendar passing by like, oh shit, I got 9 more.
Is that right? Yeah. Well,
yeah. In the penitentiary, they refer to Christmas as Sunday or Thanksgiving as Thursday.
Is that right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I kind of felt that way when I was in Iraq. I spent a year in Iraq, and it was actually like very similar. The only reason we knew it was Christmas is because the contractors that served our food in the chow hall carved a baby Jesus out of butter. No joke. That's like the only reason we knew it was Christmas. It's crazy.
You like a little extra piece of pie or something in the pen. Like you get like a pumpkin pie or something sweet or something, you know.
That's funny. Wait till you start. I mean, I've got 4 kids. You know, wait till you start having to like memorize dates of birth and everything else for 4 kids. It gets crazy.
I don't even know what month it is sometimes. I'm just in that relentless grind. I believe that we're the path. So I'm so detached from everything external that I'm just always working on myself so much that I've come to realize that personal development is what draws in the success. So your level of success, like I've said on a lot of different things, it will never exceed your level of personal development. People have this fucked up. They think all of a sudden they're going to get this opportunity and then they're going to rise to the occasion. No, we don't rise to our goals. We fall to the strength of our system. We fall to the strength of our process. So what I do is teach people to create a daily process, a daily program, a daily system that is leveling them up in so many areas that when they show up, it's obvious they're the man for the job. Mentally, physically, spiritually, just in general, character-wise, as a man, ready to go. Not even having to sit there and unmake people's just massive malfunctions of poor mindset qualities they're possessing. All the time I talk to people and I'll be like, what? This is how you speak to yourself? No wonder everything's impossible. You're making it. But this is what we're after is, like I said, you never rise to your goals. You fall to the strength of your system. And that's why I keep my daily program paramount in my life. I never deviate from it. Haven't deviated from my wake-up time for 13 years. Never missed one day working out. And am strict with my nutrition regimen, which is the proper macronutrients for what I'm doing at that time. And I believe this is the way to create what we're after, which is massive baseline discipline. Your macros, your diet is raising your baseline discipline exponentially, which is the only way you're going to ever deter yourself from your natural weaknesses. So even if your weakness wasn't diet, you're raising your discipline with these 5 choices a day to choose purpose over pleasure, which brings up your discipline so much that when your weakness shows itself, you don't fall victim to it. You've been disciplined all day. And your wake up time, which I call gratitude. I just call a man who wakes up early grateful. A man who doesn't wake up early, I know in his head, he said, I don't want to get up today. And fuck that. They must not know someone who can't get up today. Someone with no legs, someone doing life in prison. They must not keep that ready in their heart to be strong enough to emotionally motivate them to get the fuck up. Because that day when they can't get up no more, they're going to be pissed they ever thought that. And above all, the rate of vibration increase. People are like, I don't like exercise. I don't like weight training or body weight training, push-ups or jogging, whatever you like for exercise. I refer to that as ROV increase, your rate of vibration, your energy level, your energy exchange. Energy exchange is the language of the universe. It's the universal language. And when you just come in with that energy, you can command people better. You can get them, you can inspire them. It's not about manipulation when I say command. It's about inspiration, getting people to be their best selves so that you can create these assets around you opposed to these liabilities that we create when we have shitty energy, shitty responses, and we're just being a shitty motherfucker in general.
Man, that's all. So here's an interesting thing. Like I'll explain it from my perspective. I used to be a guy who would have been intimidated by you. Not only your physical appearance, but the way that you're speaking, your level of energy. Do you find that there are people who are intimidated by you? And if that's the case, where does that come from? Like, why do they feel that way?
I mean, when you see someone doing better than you or excelling in any area that you're not, you're either inspired or your insecurities come to the forefront. So you got to realize that if you're insecure about something, someone's speech, someone's financial status, someone's body, then that's a direct pinpoint of where you must work on. I mean, the only thing that's going to negate that is if you put the work in. You don't have to become physically superior to them. You just have to have put your heart into becoming your physically superior self so that you're on the level playing field and you're no longer feeling like you're looking up at them. You're just on the playing field. You gave your whole heart into what you're after, and then it follows suit. The point is people are really confused. Only stuff that exists within us in others disturbs us. Like, we're not disturbed by anything in others that doesn't already exist in us. So most people who are like, oh, Wes is a loudmouth, they're a fucking loudmouth. And they're reacting to something in me. Like, whether they do that outside or they think that way. In their mind, they could be real assertive, but still be a bitch to pull it to the forefront. But I've never had a bad reaction to those passive dudes who are just chilling. They're way calm. Like, I only get negative reactions to people like me. And the point is we have to know that. We have to know that we're reacting to something in someone that exists in us.
Yeah, that's valuable input because, like I said, I used to be that guy, and I've wondered, like, what is it that makes me more confident? What is it that makes me be able to have an intelligent conversation with somebody like you and other people that I've had on the podcast? And it has less to do with my skill set and more to do with the actions that I take on a daily basis that prove to myself that I can be in the game with you. Like, we aren't different.
If confidence is earned daily, nobody is inherently confident. You have to wake up and create your confidence daily. And I've just learned that over time to where it felt so sickening to me to not feel 100% of myself when it was just such an easy choice. Get the fuck up, put 30 to an hour and a half into a crazy workout, depending on how I'm feeling, 30 minutes to an hour and a half, and then track those foods that aren't causing regret. Regret's your guideline. If you consistently eat these foods and eat in this manner that causes you to regret, something needs to fucking change. That's the hookup. Regret is your guideline. Something needs to change. Your conscience is telling you something bad is coming from this decision, whether it's poor health or massively poor mental health from doing yourself in physically. People don't realize how bad that is to do to their people even. Like, you cannot put that energy on your kids. Like, coming to the beach, how much time is wasted from a father or an overweight mother when they just can't even be in the moment? They say they're in the moment, but they're not really in the moment because they're selfish. Their self-talk is selfish when they're at the beach. They're not secure. They don't feel good. They want to go home because they're not comfortable. And the fact is, you can negate all that. It may take a couple years for the people who are massively overweight, but it may just take a few months for them to gain that confidence back and not give a fuck how they feel because they worked for it that day. I mean, the point is everyone's missing the point. Everything's fucking earned. Internally and externally, everything is earned.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a mindset shift. I actually heard you say this the other day, or I can't remember where I heard it, but you said something to the effect of those people who, won't work out, won't go do their thing, that cognitive dissonance you were talking about. It's just selfish. Like, if you're a father, you have to take care of yourself so that you can show up fully for your kids or your wife or your employees or your colleagues or whoever it is, and not doing the work. And this is what really triggered for me, is not doing the work it's selfish in the most fundamental level. It's just selfish. It's a selfish way to approach your life.
Yeah, they're basically just turn their self-talk on a loudspeaker when they're choosing not to be their best version of self. What are they saying? I don't want it. I didn't want it. They're like a 13-year-old fucking kid who's just like literally just massively fucking consumed with self. That's not what I want to do. Well, the point is, it ain't about what you fucking want to do. Do you want your son to look at you like a fat fuck who's just ran himself in? And the whole point is you don't. So the second you be honest and you're not acting like this is fat shaming or anything like that, like the point is you know how you feel. Shame glorification is worse. Shame glorification. The person who runs himself in with drugs or alcohol or foods, and then they glorify it to the people around them. What's worse? To be like, oh, let's go get this pizza. Oh, it's so good. And then get your son on that path that caused you so much pain that you know, so that he grows tits and he gets so out of shape that it runs his life in the gutter. You know the pain that shit caused you. How could you ever pass it on? And that's why I clown all the fake-ass gangsters and the fake hard motherfuckers who came out the pen and still push that pain on people. I cried so many tears in the pen from how much pain I caused my mom, myself. I mean, I caught an A1 offense in the pen. An A1 offense when you're in the pen is attempted murder, or serious bodily injury with a weapon where someone is massively injured. This means you get a 14-month shoe term and can lead up to a life sentence. I mean, you can get a life sentence from this. I almost got one. They didn't pick the case up because there was a riot. But the point is I got so sick of who I was being so fake that I would come out. I could never come out and even hear a conversation and agree with it that was leading to the pain for someone else that I knew so well.
What was the biggest, when you were in there, and you finally just started to get on the path of like changing and improving and growing and evolving and getting your mind right, I imagine there was times that you wanted to revert, or you were tempted to revert, or you had other people around you pushing you to a different path. Like, what was the hardest point where you had to overcome the decision to improve who you were as a man?
I mean, I just always was about easy money. I was always like, I had institutional sophistication above the rest. Like these guys, they didn't see what I saw. So I found ways for us to profit in there really quickly. It was really easy for me to see the loopholes and find the routes for us to financially gain. And when your back's against the wall, that's when it shows who you are. And the last time I relapsed is when I went for that easy money. And in there, it's heroin and speed and the dealing of fucking dope. And I mean, we found an easy way to pull it off. And because I just had that eye for that type of shit, the way everyone else was doing it was so fucking old fashioned that it wasn't working no more. And I made it happen real quick. And then everybody profited really well. It turned into me taking a dabble of some white and then drinking some prison wine again. And I went off the fucking rocker. I got drunk on power again. I was making sometimes up to $1,000 a day in prison, 2,000, and just sitting there fucking like, thinking I was the shit. I mean, you're selling a 50 paper of heroin and speed. Like literally, you get a gram off the street. I mean, you get them for like $50 or something, like less than that even. And then a 50 paper is like, you can get like 11 50 papers out of a gram. And then these are going to go for $50, and they're going to sell like you're never not going to sell them in prison.
Right.
People are going to buy them. So you're making 5 times what you would off a gram. And if you're getting fucking a couple ounces, you're making a shitload of money. But the point is I just got drunk on the power. I started using again, and then I ended up going right into violence. So then I'm not dumb. So I saw what I was doing. I was looking for happiness in the same place. I would consistently lose it. And on the street before I went to prison, it was the same thing. I was looking for easy money. It turned into violence. Same thing. I did it again in prison. And then I was sick of it because I'm like, dude, if you ever do this again, you may never get another chance at life. Like these guys are doing life in there. They're miserable. They're miserable. Imagine if you were never getting out of prison, ever. Like that is the craziest fucking just mind. And these dudes are just miserable, straight up. Some of them find it, some. And it's still, whether it's truly authentic or not, I don't believe so much because I'm one of the few who stuck to it when he got out. A lot of people find a lot of things in there. A lot of them go back really quick though. So the point is, I mean, it just became real clear to me I had to stop or my life was over. And I just cherished my life too much. I wasn't going to keep going down that route. But I did fuck up again was the point of the answer to your question. I did fuck up again. And I mean, that's the message to everybody. Just because you got on the path and you got off a little bit, I mean, doesn't mean you got to just get back on. The point is once you start the path, the only two failures in life is to never start the path, and the other is to stop once you started. You can fuck up. People are going to fuck up. I've fucked up, and I love to share my fuck-ups. I like to share my fuck-ups more than I like to share all the success I've had because it's what's real to me. It's what keeps me getting more success.
Yeah, that's powerful, man. So what kind of information did you start consuming in there? You know, like you're trying to get on this path. You're trying to improve how you are. You're obviously intelligent. You obviously have access, I don't know if it started then or where, to some incredible information that I think probably opened your mind and expanded your capacity to learn and grow. Like, what was it that you were consuming at that point?
I read like 3 books in my entire existence, and it was literally Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I read Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil, and I read 177 Habits of Highly Effective, 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class from Steve Siebold. And I don't read books. I live them. I rewrite them. And then I read massive quote books, just all quote books, all the wisdom of the ages, and I would rewrite them. So that's one of the fundamental errors everyone's doing. They just read books. I live them. I rewrite them. A page takes me like, I'll read the same book for 3 fucking years, and I'll rewrite it 7 times. And that's how I absorb the knowledge.
What do you mean rewrite? What does that look like?
I just rewrite pages in my own words. So every morning I'll read like, right now I'm reading, I read Stoic books. So Marcus Aurelius, Meditations, and then a couple other Stoic books. But the thing is I just rewrite them. So I'll read a passage, and I'll rewrite it. I'll see how it affects me, and I'll just put my twist on it, how I like it. And it just it just teaches me to live them more. I absorb them more.
Yeah, that's an interesting. I never heard that perspective. I mean, I heard the perspective of, even for myself, I used to pride myself on the number of books I read, and then I realized, like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, reading 100 books doesn't mean anything unless you're willing to do something about it and apply it to your life. But I'd never heard that concept of, like, actually rewriting a page or rewriting a concept in a way that resonates with you. That sounds pretty powerful.
Yeah, it would get these quote books too, like, 500 or 1,000 page, just thick quote books, and I just sit on my rack and avoid all the drama of prison and just rewrite them. Just rewrite the whole fucking book. And it would just cause me it would get the wheels turning. Reading is good and all if it gets the wheels turning. I mean, we're after increasing cognition. We're not after just reading. And that's the problem here. A lot of people are consistent. A lot of people read. But are they truly comprehending what they read? Are they truly comprehending the act that's taking place? I don't think they are. Too many people show up to the gym and don't get ripped and don't get all swole. Too many people show up to their job and don't get the pay they want. Too many people are in a relationship that they're not attracted to the other person. So habitually they're creating someone who's okay with doing the work and not getting the result. So essentially, consistency is cool, but comprehension trumps it.
Do you think people are just like checking things off the box, like, oh, Wes does this, Ryan does this guy does that, so I'll just do that thing, and they're just checking it off, going through the motions, and then they get frustrated with themselves because they don't produce the results that you might or I might or somebody else they may be inspired by are in their own life?
Yeah, they're just not really going within and attaching to, I call it the stream of consciousness or infinite intelligence. I mean, when you really tap in and you start to really just create, that's our mode. That's flow state. I mean, when we get in that mode, that's where everything comes from, and they just really haven't found that power yet. And the point is I always feel like everything's earned. So even from the universe, from infinite intelligence, the messages we get from above that have been passed on, the same messages have been going along since the dawn of time. It's all the same stuff, just rewritten. So the point is to become a quality facilitator of this message that I speak, that other people speak. People are like, oh, Goggins says that. I'm like, there is no Goggins. There is no Robbins. There's universe sending a message. There's no Watson. I'm not a good speaker. I'm not a good writer. I'm none of this. I'm a good listener. So as soon as they're able to listen to the messages coming from above, now they're able to truly apply it and not care what anyone's saying. The point is they're still caring if other people are worried about it. And a lot of people, they don't realize that their ego is stopping them from truly becoming someone who receives these messages, because they want to get on camera, but they don't look right, or they want to write something that helps someone, but they don't know how it's going to be accepted. And the point is that's not a quality facilitator of the message from above. The person who's going to be the one is a person who's ready to fucking die for the message coming from above. And that's just, I don't care. I'm not going to listen to anybody except my conscience and what I know is right from above, because I just believe if a man is right, his world will be right. And so many people I've helped with what some pussy motherfucker would call a negative message, I've helped more people with that message, saying, motherfucker, do you want to walk around with tits as a man? Like, choosing to cross gender lines by choice. Like, you chose to grow breasts by choice. Like, just by eating these snacks, you chose that. Like, what the fuck? And that message alone would shock a lot of people. It has helped more people get in control of their weight and control of their life and get confidence in anything, because it's so fucking true. And the only reason it's true to me is because when I was younger, I didn't want to take my shirt off. I didn't want to go to the beach. I missed out on a lot of fun times and felt a lot of pain because my friends who had the six-pack naturally and were ripped naturally, they're just chilling. And everybody's hanging out. There's girls. Everybody's there. We're growing up. We don't know what's going on. And all I know is I don't feel right. That is traumatic for a teenager. That's why the dad, he does love his son. He does. But he doesn't love himself enough to love his son correctly. So someone who loves himself enough to sacrifice and get the results that they know they need to pass it on to their son, that man loves his son at a different degree.
Yeah, he's just more capable of doing it. The more you love yourself, like I look at the, like even Bible references where it's, what are the great commandments? Love thy neighbor as thyself, right? The second great commandment. What people think is like, okay, so I'm just supposed to go out and love everybody. But what they fail to understand, even in that message, is love thy neighbor as thyself. That means that you have to love yourself in order to love your neighbor. And if you want to love your neighbor more fully, then you have to love yourself more fully, because you won't have the capacity to love them to the degree that you talk about wanting to love them.
You only know it. We only know the capacity at which it's created within. And so that was that post the other day on Happy Wife, Happy Life. And I went in to say that my wife's happy because I was a quality teacher, because I lived and I personified what I teach. And then she was able to walk through that door and truly love herself correctly. So we've created a different type of relationship now. And the point is do we not have battles and arguments and all? Fuck no, we do. But the point is we're geared towards growth. We're geared towards winning. We're geared towards getting rid of what's causing us both so much pain, which is it's always that dumb choice. It's always that pleasure. It's always those vices. It's always that stuff we know we don't need. And it's always people looking for happiness in the same place they consistently lose it. In that fridge, in that alcohol cabinet. I mean, they're looking for it in the same place they lose it. And when's it finally enough? Like, literally.
Yeah. I want to shift gears because I've been fascinated with something. I know that you've talked about this vocally, and I'm interested in how you lead with your wife and in that relationship, because I know she's had to overcome her own battles with alcohol. And I know that you've spent a lot of time, obviously, with her. There's a lot of guys who, they want their wives to improve in some capacity. Maybe it's a vice, or maybe it's a habit that they need to overcome. Walk me through how you begin to get your wife on board if maybe she isn't fully on board with what you're doing and how you're trying to improve.
You got to have the long view, and you got to not talk until you got your fucking results. So the point is I was grinding in silence for 10 years before I ever fucking stood on a podium or got on a video or anything. So I was ready. I was more than ready. I had my 10 years in straight, not a day off. So the point is they're just talking too early. They're making it less attractive because they haven't got the results yet. The point is my wife started to listen because I am ripped, because I am massively successful in everything I do. And I showed her how she can do it, and in all areas, how it doesn't just affect her externally, it affects her internally. And then I wait and I'm patient and I just say, I'm never giving up. I don't give a fuck. Like, whatever, I'm going to ride it out. And she's equally as patient with my massive flaws of energy sometimes. I go from extremely positive and pulling everything off to massively angry and negative really quick. I come out of it very quickly now. I used to sit there and just be frustrated and angry about stuff for a year, for weeks, for days. I mean, like, never letting shit go. Now I experience it. I see how fucking stupid it is. And I come apologize for my lapse in energy. So that's one thing me and my wife do. We're not just accountable to action. We're not just accountable to thought. We're accountable to our energy. So in a room like this, we're both in the room. And the second I know she's feeling me slipping or me thinking a certain way or any sort of energy flaw that's happening where the room got uneasy, the air got a little thick, I just go give her a hug and apologize and get right back to my end goal, which is I want to be with her till I fucking die.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. I
So
mean,
imagine if someone did that. Imagine if everybody did that. They're like even if they were just accountable to thought, they're like, damn, I was thinking some bullshit about you, and I know that isn't in line with the relationship I wish to have with you. So hey, my bad. Like that would be like amazing if people could do that. And then if people were even able to check their energy as it shifted and be like, I know you could feel that. I apologize for that. I was getting a little fucking weird. And that's the whole thing. People are afraid to admit that because they don't understand how the universe operates. That has to happen. There has to be, you have to operate in a state of low vibration to really respect what it feels like when you're vibrating at the highest level. So we just have to be accountable to change this and get better at it. And the way to do it is the simplest way. When your thoughts are going negative, when your rate of vibration's dropping, when your energy's dropping, you go into physical activity. We have this instilled in us through creation that we can give ourselves that high. There's a runner's high. There's a workout high. Those endorphins are kicked in. Why is everyone going to the bag that they just buy instead of earning it with the workout the way we're supposed to? They just think they're better than it. They think they're better than us, how we were built as humans. You're not. You're not. There's no book. There's no hack. There's none of this shit. There's no way around it. There's no mindset trick. When your mindset gets flawed, when you go negative, you go straight into intense physical exercise. I've never seen someone leave the gym all pissed. You go straight into intense physical exercise. You gain that PMA. You raise your rate of vibration, your ROV, and then you go into some affirming readings, and then you look at your life's problems. A lot of people sit there and try to decipher life's problems in a negative mindset, and they only see the negative outcome. They just don't even get it. Get yourself positive and then look at the situation. Don't even try to touch any of that shit while negative. I had to do that in the pen consistently because imagine, I'm sitting there in the shoe and I'm just going through my head. I'm like, fuck, I'm never getting out. They're going to pick this case up. I saw the pictures. That dude was fucked up. I already have a bunch of violent fucking cases. Man, I'm fucked. I just had to go into the craziest workout to beat that out of my head.
Is PMA positive mental attitude? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, positive mental attitude. I think that's Napoleon Hill or one of the greats.
Yeah, look, I feel the same way. And you know, it's interesting, even when I'm down, like I could get up on the floor and just do like 10 push-ups really quick, just crank out 10, and immediately, even with that small little exercise, I immediately and instantaneously start feeling better.
It's massive. I mean, I just tell people, I'm like, dude, discipline yourself. When your energy fails, when your attitude fails, go do 50 fucking burpees. Just go do them. You'll be like, what the fuck, that worked? And then here's the bitches. They got these excuses. I'm going to do 50 burpees in my office. Shut the fuck up, dude. Go figure out how to fucking adapt. You know, just go get your goddamn heart rate up real quick and come back. But the point is those excuse-having motherfuckers, they just don't really want it yet. It hasn't got bad enough. So I facilitate rock bottom for a motherfucker like that. A motherfucker like that hits me up through my coaching or is in my coaching or anything. I'll facilitate their stages right down to rock bottom and show them who the fuck they are. Because
how do you do that?
I really bring all their shit to the forefront, all their flaws, what the fuck they're doing. I really just seriously get straight into what they're dropping the ball on. I mean, the point is we need that. It's either gonna be, and the whole thing is you either got to humble yourself and change it, or somebody else is gonna do it for you, or life's gonna do it. And I don't want them to go to the pen, so I don't want them to live that life of a subpar motherfucker. I believe in abundance. There's enough room for us all to kill it. I know it. I see so much in people because I know the shitbag I was, and I know how out of shape I was, and I know how easy it is to attain. So I just can't even deal with them being less of themselves. So I'm just not the best person for people who don't want to excel. I mean, if they want to stay down there, that's fine. I mean, I just wish them growth, and when they're ready, I'll be there for them. No harm. It don't matter.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think we have a tendency just societally, collectively, to believe that if somebody's coddling someone, if they make them feel comfortable with who they are, which is a great plague in society currently, that somehow that individual actually cares about somebody. And I don't think, look, if you're sparing people conversations because you think it might be uncomfortable, I think it has less to do with how you feel about that individual, and it's actually selfish. You care more about not having an uncomfortable conversation. You care more about yourself than that individual if you're not willing to speak the truth to that person.
And they don't see it. I mean, the biggest injustice we can do a man is to accommodate his shortcomings. I mean, how not? How not? I'm a self-made millionaire. I'm fit. I just got out of prison 2 years ago. If I were to tell you you're stupid for not using the fucking app correctly because of pure laziness, then I'm helping you. And I will do it like that way to some people. I mean, because literally a guy will be like, oh, I tell him we need 35 grams of protein for this meal. And then he's like, how many ounces of this shake? And I'm like, dude, turn the fucking bottle around. And it says 32 grams of protein per scoop. And I'm like, you really couldn't do that? What do you do for a living? Like, I'm a crane operator. I'm like, what the fuck? They haven't fired you yet? How are you pulling this off? How are you breathing? Should I call 911 for you, bro? Like, I don't know how you're existing right now. I don't get it. And this is the problem. I know what it is, though. It's just lack of confidence. He knew the answer. He just wasn't even confident enough to pull the trigger on something that was right in front of his fucking face. So the point is what we're after is that spiritual inclination where we become confident with self. So in the age of information, the leaders, they're going to be more spiritually inclined because they're going to know where to put the information. Everybody has the information. Everyone has the information. They just don't know what to do with it because they're lacking the confidence. So where I facilitate it is I show them how to build confidence with these daily steps, this daily process, forcing yourself up, making sure you hit these non-negotiable tasks that build confidence so that when someone leaves my program, they're just like, I fucking smash 12 things a day that I'm supposed to do. Give me a 13th one. Give me a 15th. These are the people we have to create, not those people who are they're just operating at such a low sense of self. I mean, from years of not trying to figure out the answer, lack of curiosity, lack of follow-through.
Yeah, and it is interesting that you can incorporate, I think you talked about 5 things, you talked about hitting the macros, getting up early, these type of things that you're talking about, how they will inevitably produce results in other areas of your life, right? If you can be disciplined over here, you can't help but be more disciplined in another facet of your life. It will carry over.
It's so powerful. People tell me, Wes, you're already ripped. Why don't you have a cheat meal? I'm like, dude, if I go eat pancakes in the morning, I will argue with my wife like a motherfucker. I'll start a fight with someone on the street, not physically, but my weakness will come right to the front. So the second I drop my discipline by not sticking to my diet, sticking to my daily regimen, then my weakness it comes out and I'm not disciplined enough to handle this weakness. So my weakness is I get angry. I have a bad reaction to people when they act a certain way. So the point is keeping my discipline up with my diet. People are like, why do you diet? You're already ripped. You don't have to. I'm like, so that I treat my wife correctly. And they're like, what does that have to do with it? I'm like, my weakness is I react in the wrong way to people in certain situations. And that's my weakness. And they're like, they don't get that the root of our weakness is lack of discipline. So if you have a drug problem, if you have an anger problem, whatever fucking problem you have, the answer to it's discipline. So what are we going to do? We're going to discipline the shit out of ourselves in a militant way, a fucking prison penitentiary program way. These guys are so disciplined. I used to just be the worst. Like I would stand like before chow every day, stand by the door 40 minutes early with my cup and my spoon and not let anybody go in front of me. I did it every prison I was at. I would be the first person in front of the door. Just boom. And people would make a joke like, I'm going to go in front of him today. And it's like years that I would not let anybody be there before me because I was so prepared, so regimented through everything. Always the first up, always the first out the door, always. And this was just me solidifying in my mindset that I'm a leader. And if you're up first and you're working on yourself, you start to just think like a leader. That's how it is. And people are like, oh, I don't want to be a leader. It's like, you have to lead somebody. You don't want to lead your wife to being a better person. I mean, you don't have to be a massive leader to the fucking free world, but you have to lead someone.
Even yourself. Like, even lead yourself. Like how often do we listen? I think you talked about this natural person, right? Our natural tendencies to be weak and lazy and pathetic. Like, lead that guy, right? And change that guy into something more than he was before.
Lead your current self all the way up to your higher self, the vision you have of self. I mean, if I chose to not track my macros, if I chose to sleep in, if I chose to drink again, if I chose not to work out, I wouldn't be me. I would be so fucking average and just be miserable. How can people not equate this? I'm not lucky. I made a bunch of fucking choices that got me where I'm at. And those choices and that knowledge gained through the choices, that wisdom gained through the pain and overcoming of it, created the person I became today. Am I special? Fuck no. I give a fuck about me. Like, I get up with the thought in my head that my wife and son have to be proud of me. That's it. And that all my people on my team and all the people that follow me on Instagram, that if they were thinking about sleeping in that day and not giving it their all, they saw that I was up again, so it motivated them. I don't give a shit how I feel in the morning. The second I go that route and I'm like, oh, but I don't feel like that. I check myself so hard. I just automatically think of the people who really have life bad, and none of us are it.
I'm glad you say that, because I think people would probably have a tendency of looking at somebody like yourself, and I know this is true because I've seen people do it, where they look at somebody who's highly successful or highly disciplined, and they think that somehow that's just genetic, right? Like, Wes can do it because that's just like who he is. And they don't realize that you have days that you want to slack off and you want to be like the bitch that you talk about, but you overcome that. It's not that you don't have those days, it's that you figured out a way to overcome that.
We just chose to. And the fact is, I mean, people really, they just want to find any reason why it can't be them. And they're the reason why it isn't them. Just their choice is simply the reason. All the stuff that's hardest for me is what gives me the most pleasure. How dumb would I be if I couldn't make the correlation between the most impossible thing that happened to me, 10 years in prison, the day I get handcuffed in court and I know I'm done. I just got sentenced. I'm done. Bye, Mom. Bye, everybody. I'm gone. And I overcame all that to where I am today. How dumb would I be to ever look at adversity as anything but a blessing, anything but a hookup? The point is people are just wishing it won't happen instead of using it as that fucking just that pedestal, just that fucking stomping ground to just elevate the shit out of yourself. I mean, it only means anything because we overcame something. It means more if you grow up in a negative neighborhood, in a negative household, to choose to be positive. I mean, if you were just gifted anything, you'd be that spoiled fuck who don't give a shit what he was given.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you also have talked about too is using maybe it's obsessiveness, maybe it's the like a highly charged or a highly emotional individual who thinks that maybe that's going to hinder them. It's like, no, just redirect that, right? Just channel that, and you can use those emotions, you can use that power, you can use intensity, like I would describe you, as long as you're channeling it not towards vice and the things you know you don't want to be doing, but towards the things that you do want to be doing. That's a benefit to you, not a hindrance.
Yeah, those emotional motivators are everything to me. I cry every morning. I mean, I come in the pen, I would be doing handstand push-ups, just smacking my head on the ground with like blood dripping out my forehead, literally just thinking about, Mom, I'm going to make you proud, Mom. I don't give a fuck what I got to do. Fuck this shit. I don't care. And it started with the simplest vision of, I'm going to create the person that needs to be created. So many people, like, they want to be this excellent teacher. But who the fuck they teaching? Do they want to appeal to the youth? Well, let's be honest. Like, do you think they're going to listen to you if you don't have the look they need to fucking see? So quit being so selfish. Create that fucking look if you want to get through to the youth. Don't be that shot out pastor or teacher or someone who swears he's getting through to them but has no idea how to get through to them. You have to fucking be winning. People are looking for your weakness the second you make them feel uncomfortable. The second you're trying to cause a teenager, an adult, or anyone to grow, the second you're bringing up those pain points that they need to change, they're automatically looking for your weakness. Sure. They're automatically looking for to equate where you're failing so that it gives them a way out. If you don't give them a way out, you're good. You got it. They have no way out. They just have to agree at that point. And then you can teach them.
Yeah, I've thought about that too, because there's certainly, even over the past 5 years, as I've tried to grow the influence in what we're doing here, is, you know, there's been times where I've looked at myself and said, who am I? Like, to tell that guy to do whatever, to get up early or to go into the gym or to treat his wife and kids the way he should. Like, who am I to do that? Because I'm falling short in those areas. I've really had to check myself a lot of times in that case.
That's the massivest thing. I mean, and it's a daily, everyone wants it too quick. So how long have these individuals practiced what they preach is where the fucking power comes from. How long you've exponentially lived what you preach is where the fuck is how much people absorb it and feel it. So I personally know this, and I know people resonate with my message because how long I've just truly just dedicated myself to it. So even like on a day, if I were to say, okay, well, today I'm going to carb up, which is not even crazy eating. It's just a carb up so that I don't turn into a fucking skeleton from eating so low carb to speak in this manner. Because I eat a carnivore style diet to speak better and to compose more clear thought. But then I have to stay carved up every few days to actually maintain some sort of size that I like too. So I do like a carnivore type carb cycling hybrid of my own. But
Right.
this is what works for me. I've just hacked myself to operate good with this manner. But the point is how the fuck could I really believe that I couldn't pass it on, or I didn't have the power to my words if I wasn't living in the manner? So even on the days when I do carb up or whatever, I tap out of all business. I tap out of everything. I say, I don't even deserve anything. I don't deserve to teach anybody right now. I'm gonna bow out. And the phone's going off, everything's going off. I don't deserve anything coming my way that I preach right now. And that's how authentic I am to my universal the universal message is I'll believe that I don't deserve it at that point when I'm not completely congruent with my message. And the fact is when I do that even, I'm blessed tenfold because I know that I really didn't want it. I didn't need it. I didn't want it. I didn't deserve it. And then it came even more because that was the true answer. Didn't need it. So people are always looking for their life's purpose. Your life's purpose comes when you realize your life is your purpose and you're not looking for a life's purpose. When you don't need it no more is when you get it. When I didn't need to get out of prison no more is when I got out. When you don't need to be on this lockdown or when you're not worried about getting off this lockdown anymore is when you'll get it. And when you live that structured day that just is your passion is when you'll get paid for it in the manner you want. If you force outcomes, you're operating out of scarcity. Abundance means you'll do it regardless, and then it rains down on you.
Yeah, that's powerful. You know, you talk about scarcity. I talk about even desperation. Like I look at because my background is financial planning. And I remember early in the financial planning years, man, I was so desperate because I had to make the payments. I had to make the mortgage. I had to pay the debt, all that kind of stuff. And when I would meet with people, they would pick up on that desperation. And I couldn't pick up a new client to save my life. And it was interesting because it wasn't until I didn't need new clients that people were like, hey, I need financial planning. Like I didn't have to ask for referrals anymore. People were coming to me to beat down my door. I'm like, I can't handle this. Like I can't meet with all of you. I just don't have the capacity to do it. It's ironic and frustrating. But yeah, when you're not desperate and you're operating out of abundance, that's when you'll start to see and reap the benefits of your efforts.
So once you couple that mindset with only trying to provide worth before you ever get compensation. So all my videos, everything I do is providing exactly what worked for me in the exact form I thought it and did it first. Now the people who need an extra breakdown, which is fine. It took me 13 years to understand the way I operate and do it. So I understand that they need extra breakdown on macros or training or these mindset techniques and they want further. Well, then that's what the coaching's for. But the point is I give away exactly how I understood it first so that a lot of people just can change their life just off the content. And then you get the few people like, oh, you're not really in this to help people? You're charging? I'm like, do you go to work for free, motherfucker? But hey, those people, you can't help them. They're just massively delusional. And they don't realize that if anyone is bending rules for them, they're doing nothing but doing them a massive disservice.
Yeah, well, you know, I think there's those people who feel like they're owed something. I had a guy, he emailed me the other day and he said, hey,
I always see you have good ones. You always have some crazy ones of people just talking shit.
I do, and I try to ignore it, but, you know, sometimes I say a thing or two and I don't feel any better, but, you know, it is what it is. But I had this guy reach out to me and he said, hey, man, like, I really want to join one of your programs and I'm wondering if you can give me a discount. I'm like, no. Like, if you don't care about it enough and I'm out of integrity giving you a discount that other people are paying full price and investing in themselves, like, how is that fair to them? How is that fair to you? Like, you're going to put in half the effort if you're paying half the price. And how is that fair to me? You know, like, pay the price, invest fully in yourself. Don't ask for something that somebody else isn't getting. And people talk about, oh, I deserve or I'm entitled. You deserve exactly what you have. And if you deserved more, you would have more.
It's so true. I mean, like I said, everyone should just be after personal development and the success will follow. So everything should be going towards that. It's the funniest guy who who really spends so much more on his truck payment than on his personal development. And he wonders why he's stuck in the same position. And they'll never get it. So, but as soon as they do start to realize it, then they come around. And for every person I say like that, there is literally 20 to 100 or 300 people that I talk to that are so fucking good. So, I mean, like the way we view the world is truly a confession of character. And all I see, I don't even see much of the negative stuff no more. I see people just slaughtering it. Like I see people who are just overtaking me so quick with like the same thought process, the same discipline and everything. And I mean, because I'm just surrounded by my team of dudes who they literally just kill it. They pick it up so quick. The belief is there. I mean, that's the people. Well, I just want a trial run to see if this really works. I'm like, do you really believe that if you do an intense workout every day and eat these structured, clean foods that are specific to your body, you're not going to change? And they're like, oh, well, I just want to see how it's set. No, you just believe that you can't do it. And I kind of just don't even, I'm not even going to work with you till you get your belief up. Hit me up when you just are ready to say, let's go and nothing more. Right.
It's powerful. How's, you talk a lot about your son, you talk about your wife, you talk about making them proud, and your mom. What's your relationship like with your mother? Is she proud of you? Do you feel like you're at the stage where?
Yeah. She calls me every morning. I mean, mom's she's came down here the other day, and we're always back and forth. She loves my wife. They talk. I mean, my wife calls her mom, and she has her own mom, but she just like that. She loves my dad. She's like, dude, can he adopt me? Like it's crazy. Like she didn't have a father growing up in her life, and it's that's another thing. Like, fuck, man, being in prison with all these dudes who are just scumbag fathers, and they're crying about their kids, and then they choose to get out and go to the speed or the heroin over their kids. It just pissed me off, because in there I didn't have kids. I was operating from a made-up vision of my future family that was motivating me, and they had them and still weren't motivated. So the point is they're habitually creating someone who just doesn't see meaning in anything. They're not able to attach deep meaning to shit. So just basically, mom's being proud of me is one of the most massive things ever, because my brother can't get it together. He may do it this time, but he's back locked up again. He's just in and out of lockup for the last, 15 years.
I'm happy for you, man. That makes me happy. I'm excited to hear that. It's been pretty cool to watch your progress and your journey and your growth. And not only that, but to see how you've inspired, man, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people at this point to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and get back into it.
That's the thing. We got 40 million plus views on YouTube. And I didn't even know that the other day till someone told me. But I mean, everybody, I know that these universal messages, this wisdom of the ages, I know it affects people at every level. Whether they're ready to receive the message or not there's no difference. But I mean, I know everybody's affected by this stuff because I was, and we're all not so different. We're all not. Like literally, that's why the same messages have been passed down since the dawn of time. That's just what this is what we're supposed to follow.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a couple of questions as we wind down. The first one, I didn't tell you about this, and you kind of alluded to it a couple of times, but the question is, what does it mean to be a man?
I mean, responsible. By definition, a man is responsible. So, I mean, you can sit there and just apply it to the one area that it fits you and say, I go to work every day. I'm responsible. I pay the bills. But it's got to be across the board. Like, knowledge is a one-way street to get there, but wisdom is looking at it from all directions. So, I mean, there's a difference between knowing some shit and being wise. Being wise is taking a quote like that. By definition, a man is responsible and truly taking it into your heart and applying it to everything you do. Am I responsible in my health? Am I responsible in my actions and me being a quality role model? Am I responsible at actually paying the bills? Am I responsible at being a provider, protector? I mean, this is what it takes, is the man to really introspect, to look within and say, do I fit on every access of this, every fucking increment of this line? Do I fit this quote that men are responsible by definition? And if you don't, then apply it to all the areas. That's why this path is never ending. So this path is never ending because we're just consistently happily dissatisfied, always leveling up, always looking for that weakness. The fool just looks at his strength and says, I go to work every day, I pay the bills, I work construction, and so I deserve my 18th pack to let my health fall off and then give them a shitty fucking version of me when I come home because I'm tired. And the point, fuck all that. we can do way more than we've been doing.
Powerful, man. Well, how do we connect with you and learn more about what you're up to?
Basically, it's Watson_fit on Instagram, and then it's GP Penitentiary Life on YouTube. And then you can go to www.weswatson.com to apply for my coaching. I mean, we're changing lives every day because this is what worked for me. I went from below the bottom, below rock bottom, to where I'm at today with just a different perspective change, a different mindset. When you change your thoughts, you will change your life. And when you become accountable to your self-talk, when you become accountable to your actions, you can create the person you're supposed to be. You will create the person you're supposed to be.
I love it, man. I appreciate you. Like I said, I've been following you for a while, and I'm inspired by what you're doing. You helped me improve in my life, and I know you're going to help people that have listened to this, that are going to reach out to you for coaching. You're doing good stuff, man. It's awesome.
Like I said, we could be one of two things when we see someone excelling. And there's people above me that I just am inspired by. There's always someone above us that we're inspired by. We got to just always make sure we don't let those insecurities get in the way, which is ego. Let those insecurities get in the way of our progression and our ability to be our best, and let everybody around us inspire us. So I appreciate you, bro. Thanks for just being a quality example of what men should be. Because, I mean, fuck, dude, I was around the fakest ones that just would cry in front of you 1 minute, stick a needle in their arm the next minute, and then get locked back up and leave their family hanging next time they got out. I just got sick of it, bro. But I appreciate you having me on today.
Thanks, brother.